Hey nerds, welcome to a new episode, and this one is all about aliens. But more than that, we are talking about Take Me to Your Leader, the new book by Neil deGrasse Tyson, with none other than the man himself. I legitimately cannot believe that he agreed to talk to me. And I was like super nervous before we started, but he was so cool and it was such a great chat, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So this is Nerd Exchange with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Enjoy. I'm like, I should let you know that we are currently in the midst of a massive heat wave right now. It's like 32 degrees Celsius, which I know doesn't sound that much, but in the UK weather, it's a lot.
Yeah, because you guys
So,
don't have air conditioning, is that correct?
yeah, no, I've had the fan on until like the very last minute, and I've got some ice blocks that my
Wow,
partner
okay,
made for me.
okay.
But
And you realize above your skin temperature, it's just making you hotter, right? So,
uh,
yeah, skin temperature is what, about 36 degrees? A little bit less than body temperature.
I've got a couple of degrees
You,
then.
you got
Uh,
some headroom there. Yes, very good.
it's basically just to say that if I look like I'm starting to melt as we go through, it's not like an Edgar and Men in Black situation. I'm just Irish.
or,
Just can't
or,
take it.
or that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you just melt
Yeah,
over the ark. Yes, okay.
exactly.
Oh, your skin is hanging off your bones.
We are here to talk about aliens today, so we should go
Aliens?
towards that. Aliens.
Aliens, you think they're in the news? You think?
Just every now and then they pop in. But before we get to that, there are a handful of scientists and communicators that are recognizable, but I feel confident in saying that you are the most universally well-known astrophysicist out there.
I
Before
would
you
say,
say it, your book will correct me to say globally.
yes, thank you. Earthwide, universe. I don't know on Mars if the other science
I've
educators there.
this is I feel like we could settle for the most well-known in the solar system, surely. We can
Okay.
agree on that. But anyway, Neil, welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, thank you. And if I were to unpack the claim that I'm the most well known, it might be credited to the fact that when I do my podcast, there's a staff of people who take it and cut it up into bits and pieces that then are posted to social media platforms commensurate with the different lengths of posts. So I have someone 1/3 my age posting to TikTok, for example. Okay. So, because I don't know what good works on TikTok.
Yeah.
So, so there's content that is reaching places that I alone would not have known how to get it there. And
Yeah.
so it takes a village really to spread this out. And I don't think of it as me getting spread around. I think of it as the content that I produce. And if I happen to be the conduit to the cosmos for that bit, then so be it. But it's really the goal is the science enlightenment. And I don't care about fame or visibility or anything.
Yeah. But it helps to get it out there, as you said, and it definitely helps to have a team of people who also care about it and want to help reach out there into the solar system. At the
Yes.
very least. But we're going to talk about your new book, Take Me to Your Leader.
Oh, it's on your shelf there. I see
It's
what you
there.
did
I have
there.
it right here.
You know, I don't even have it on my shelf. I should.
Oh. I've got a lot of tabbed notes to go through, so
Okay, so let's do it.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about like what started it all for you. And one of the things that happens on the very first page, you brought up a really good, really strong memory, because when I was about like 12ish, I was on Cape Clear, which is an island off the coast of Ireland. It's Gaeltacht region. And it was very late at night. We were walking back home from the pub. It was the 90s. There was responsible adults. It's normal. I'm Irish. It's fine. But it was pitch black at night. And the one thing I remember is looking up at the sky. And I think it is the one and only time in my life that I have seen the night sky as nature intended. And I am sure that you are someone who has had the opportunity to see that sight on a fair few occasions, despite growing up in New York.
Well, a couple of things. First, the most likely time you'll see aliens is coming out of a pub in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Okay. A. Let's start make the list there. Okay.
Yep, fair.
Revelers coming out of a pub after several pints. Okay. So that's my first comment. Second, I had not appreciated how cloudy it is most of the time in Great Britain and just the whole area, that region of the world. So that could be why people are so pale all the time. There's not much
Yeah,
sunlight you get exposure to.
what are you
So
gonna do?
it would mean if there happens to be a perfectly clear night, then you would notice. And my counterpart to that, growing up in New York City, a city with a lot of street lights, and back in my day, there was a lot of air pollution, less so today, but air pollution and light pollution and tall buildings. You know, you look up, you're not going to see the sky. You're going to see a building lit. And so none of us have a relationship with the night sky. And so that moment that you're recounting, I shared in my first visit to my local planetarium, where the lights go out and the lights dim and the stars come out. And I was starstruck by it. I might even say at that moment, the universe chose me. And I realized the immensity of the well, I thought it was a hoax, first of all. See,
Yeah.
you couldn't have thought it was a hoax because that was the real sky. But I
was
thought it was
right
a
there.
hoax. It's like I've seen all the stars from the Bronx, New York. That's where I grew up, in the Bronx. And I know. And so it would be a little later where I'd verify with an actual night sky that I would ultimately see that it was legit. And the to this day, it's a little embarrassing, but I'll admit it. I'll confess it, that when I go to mountaintops, some of the finest observing sites of the world, and I look up, I say to myself, oh, it's so beautiful. It reminds me of the Hayden Planetarium.
Yeah.
So what happened to you? Okay, after a few pints were in you and you're staggering home.
I was 12.
12, okay. What were you doing in a pub at 12? Okay. I'm
It
not
was
gonna, don't answer
Ireland in the 90s.
that. Don't answer
In
that.
the country.
Okay.
Come on.
And so what happened within you?
Are
Did
you
you feel the
asking?
sky?
I think, yeah, it was just a moment that it's because, like I said, I don't have a very good memory, but it still resonates in me today that I still search that out. Like I look for, weekends away in dark sky regions. I check to see like, oh, is there a possibility that we could see something? And then you just go there and you hope and pray that it's going to be a clear night, not a cloudy night, which, as you said, is very rare.
Right,
So
right.
I've still
It's rare
never
enough.
come
It's
across
rare
it.
enough so that it's
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it definitely made me feel. I went through a phase, as I think most people do, where I was like, I want to be an astrophysicist because I want to look at the sky all the time. Then I studied astrophysics in second year of my physics degree, and I went, that's a lot of math.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. People think, oh, just learn the constellations, right?
Yeah.
And they're cured of that in the first week of
Yeah,
Astrophysics
exactly.
101. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So you study
is that?
physics?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing my PhD at the moment.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm
Cool.
coming to the end of it.
You know
Technically
what's
writing
weird
it.
is people don't realize that physics is less a body of knowledge and more a state of mind. It's
Yeah.
how the world looks to you once you've studied physics. It looks completely different. And people
Yes.
don't really, it's hard to convey that to people because a lot of it comes from the slogging over the problem sets and, and it's, each problem set is some increment of how the world works. And then you figure it out. And then there's another problem set. And it's eye-opening where the world becomes an interplay of matter, motion, and energy rather than just objects in a pre-existing space. And so it's quite enlightening. I think more people should take physics than currently do.
I completely agree with that. And because I did it much older than people normally do. I worked in theater for a lot of years as a
Cool.
stage manager. And then suddenly I went to study physics, and it definitely,
Stage
I can
manager
see.
turned physicist.
Yeah, I mean, I
Cool.
feel like there's a connection there somewhere, but
Cool.
it's what happened. But yeah, it's definitely the way that you look at the world completely changes, and the way that you question things and connect with things, and it's really beautiful. I had some incredible teachers who would always talk about like the beauty of physics and stuff, which was, inspiring and encouraging. But it is a very complicated topic that I think then faces a lot of challenges where, you know, people trying to understand it and then getting frustrated with, you know, the way that it's taught, because it is basically like, here's what it is, and then the next year, so we lied to you last year, here's what it
Oh,
really is.
yeah,
So
that's
we
what it
lied to
really
you,
is.
here's what it really is. And it just keeps going like that,
Well,
and
it
you're
gets
like,
deeper.
oh man,
It gets deeper each
exactly,
step. It gets
yeah.
deeper.
Yeah.
And plus, you have an answer. This might trigger people's curiosity. Surely you know at least one person who will say to you, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some people like that, very kind of new agey. And you just say, yes, that reason is physics.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you the reason? Do you want me to break it down? Do you want to get
Yeah,
a map out? Let's
I
go.
got the reasons. I got
Yeah.
it.
Okay, let's get it. I want to talk to you a little bit about some science fiction stuff, because
Please,
before we
bring it
talk
on.
about real science and extraterrestrials, you clearly are a science fiction fan. There are a ton of references throughout the book showing science fiction has spent over at least 100 years now trying to imagine what could be out there beyond our telescopes.
Yeah, we've been
So,
crowdsourcing what
yeah,
aliens might look like for a
yeah,
century.
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When people are like, you know, science fiction leads science in some ways, it's like, you know, okay, well, this is what we're trying to do, figure it out.
Yeah. Figure
But
it out.
what was your first alien that you remember? Not real,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah. My first alien I remember was the Blob.
Oh.
It's a movie from 1958. Of course, I was only just born then, so it was later I would see it. And I said, that's a really cool alien, diabolical. You know, it doesn't knock on the door and walk through it. It oozes under the door. The Blob is exactly what it is. It oozes through the air conditioning grates, the vents. It can come through a screen door. And when the Blob first arrived on Earth, I think it came via meteorite. It was completely transparent. And then after it consumed its first person, amoeba style, it was red for the rest of the movie. Yes, pretty
Wow.
wild. So I just thought that was an imaginative alien. And I thought,
Yeah.
wow, that's pretty good. Unlike anything on Earth, it's not vertebrate. It doesn't have two eyes, a nose, mouth, ears, arms, legs, torso. And then I start seeing other aliens that didn't have that level of imagination, and I've been disappointed ever since.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, if your first one's going to be the one that's like not the humanoid alien, then everything after is like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even aliens that people think are very alien are entirely humanoid. Like all the aliens on the Star Trek series, all the aliens in all the various. I think they later backed into an explanation for that the human form was very successful and it spread across the galaxy, but then evolved in place so that you'd have a basic humanoid form. I think that's how they got around that. But they'll say, oh, let's give it pointy ears, then it'll be alien.
Yeah.
Like, what? We have animals on Earth with cats have pointy ears. Can you do better than that, please? Or give it 4 fingers instead of 5. Oh, there's an alien for you. And who has 4 fingers are the Na'vi on the Pandora planet in Avatar.
Oh, Avatar, yeah.
Yeah, they all have 4 fingers. And they could not resist. I was hoping they would resist it. They didn't resist. When in the third movie, 2 of the characters, I forgot whom, 2 of the younger, they're not quite adolescent, but guys, 2 of the guys, they did something together that was impressive. And they said, high 4. It was like, no, you did not. No, you did not just call for a high 4. Okay. But it also gets you. It also gets you thinking. Of course, we use base 10 to count with our 10 fingers, and would they use base 8? And I speculate in the book that if your alien doesn't land and it has 4 fingers instead of 10, try base 8 first. And if you're going to use some kind of numbering system, and by the way, nearly all cartoon characters at least American cartoon characters, have 4 fingers on a hand. So on The Simpsons, on the Flintstones, on the Family Guy, I don't know how much of this you get in the UK.
Yeah, yeah, most of it.
Yeah, you get some of it. But take a look. All the cartoon characters have 4 fingers on a hand. So I imagine a convention where a cartoon convention with all the cartoon characters and the aliens show up, and they'll have a common numbering system.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, that's what's so interesting about it. It's about when you do have those different depictions of aliens, and then you can imagine what type of a society or what type of, how they would develop and what we could learn from them, or learn about how to communicate with them. But we're
Yeah,
going to get to that
exactly.
in a minute.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. We're going to, before, I've just got 2 quick questions that I wanted to ask you, because that's your first alien insight. But what's your favorite depiction of aliens in sci-fi?
Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but it would have to
No?
be either the aliens in 2001: A Space Odyssey or in the
Oh.
movie Contact. Why? Because they don't show the aliens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
The aliens are there and they're meddling, but what they look like is up to your imagination.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the best alien. I hate to be that guy to say that, because that's not what you're after.
No, but it's a common thing, like on the kind of stuff that I talk about and the way I talk about like science and science fiction is some of the best science fiction out there is when they don't explain it. When you explain it, you're locking yourself into, now I'm giving you something that's, and it can be picked at. If you don't explain it, you can just kind of go like,
Yeah, there was also an episode in the original Star Trek. This one was pretty good, and I saw it early on, where there was a life form that lived inside of a mountain, and it was called, they call it the Horta, and it looked like a rock, and basically was an animate rock. And there were these spherical rocks all throughout the cave, and they learned that those were the eggs laid by this rock life form. And it was an early attempt, because one of the quote active ingredients of rock is silicon. And so, because silicon dioxide is most of Earth's crust, right? So this, in a way, was silicon-based life. And so it was an attempt to just break open the mold a little. They didn't talk about a circulatory system or how it got pregnant, or they left that out, but just say, here, wrap your head around this for a moment. And of course, they couldn't communicate with it, didn't have a mouth. And so Spock did his Vulcan mind meld, where he then communicates thoughts with it, which is a nice, convenient talent to have when you're communicating with life forms that don't speak English. I thought Andy Weir did a good job in Project Hail Mary, the author of the story, where, if you've seen it yet, I don't know, but there are 2 aliens in the film. One of them is non-intelligent. It's an organism. Another one is an intelligent alien, and it's rock-like. And he nicknames it Rocky. And it's craboid, not humanoid, craboid. And it's 5 legs that sort of lift up and down the way crab legs do. But at the tips of each legs are highly nimble, highly skilled, tool-wielding, dare I call them, fingers. And so they make great engineers. And so Andy Weir thought long and hard about how to not make a Hollywood alien. And so I applaud his efforts there.
Love Rocky. It's a great depiction, and it's really fun as well then to speculate a bit with something like that, when you kind of add a bit of science in, where it's like, okay, well, it's reasonable enough and we don't have to leap too far with it. But yeah, I reacted a minute ago because I remembered the Star Trek episode you were talking about. I was like, I can remember Spock in the cave doing the mind meld.
Yeah. And one thing with do you remember Ryan Gosling's name in
Grace,
the movie?
yeah.
Grace. Okay. So did you fill out that picture? Because the name of the ship is the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
It says Hail Hail Mary,
Very
full of
full of
grace.
grace. Yeah. It's great.
Any Catholic person should pick up on
Yeah.
that. Okay. Unless you haven't been to confession in a long time.
I'm lapsed.
You've
What
lapsed.
can I say?
You haven't said your 10 Hail Marys for that sinning you
No.
did it when you were 12 years old in the pub. Yes, okay.
The beauty of like as we're talking about the different depictions of the aliens, like that's one of the beauties of science fiction, is because we can go as far as our imagination will allow us to go, but our imagination, as you're saying, we're still limited by our very human experiences, which means that we kind of end up with things that are a little bit too close to what's the norm. As you said, the pointy ears
Exactly.
alien. I often wonder if we do actually have the capacity to truly imagine what could really be out there.
I think my answer to that is no, because if you isolated a human being from the rest of the life on Earth, but they learn all about human physiology, and then you tell them there are other life forms on Earth, imagine what they might be like. You would not come up with an elephant or a snake. There's a life form. You gotta believe me. It slithers on the ground, has no arms, no legs. It can eat something 5 times bigger than its jaw, and it stalks its prey with infrared light. Are you gonna come up with that? No, it's a snake. Okay. There's a creature that has 100 legs, and all the legs. It's a millipede. You're gonna come up with that? No. There's a creature that where you have arms, it has wings and it can fly. Well, so you're not coming up with stuff on Earth with whom we have DNA in common. You're not coming up with something that came from another planet. That's how I think about it.
No, that's the thing, exactly. It's like you pointed out in the book about how like so much of our depictions are humanoid, despite all of this diversity that we have on Earth, right there, right in front of us. Yet we still kind of go. But what I wondered is if it's to do with like, do you think it's just about an assumption about intelligence, that like we class ourselves as intelligent on Earth, so we assume that for life to be intelligent, then it must evolve in a similar way to us?
Yeah, so we are such an obscure branch in the tree of life. There are vertebrates, and then there's, mammals, and then primates, and then we're this like twig. And any number of 1,000 things could have happened in the history of life on Earth where our twig would not exist. So you'd have to ask, are we the only possible way that what we call intelligence could manifest? And that's kind of egocentric as far as I can tell. The whales have a much bigger brain than ours. Imagine whales saying, I'm tired of living in the water. Let me go out on land. Let me figure out how to turn these fins, or whatever you call it, into hands. I wonder if a whale would just be way smarter than us and build things more that are more ingenious than anything we ever came up with. Because you have to be able to be smart, however we've defined that, but also be able to do something with it, with your
Yeah.
smarts.
Do you know that actually I saw you talk about this before years ago, where you were talking about like how we classify like what is smart and how we tend to determine it by like degrees on a wall, but what about art and music? And so even thinking about other societies out there, they don't necessarily have to follow what we deem intelligence to be.
Yeah, correct. And I don't even like the word intelligence, especially since, there's this test called your IQ test.
Yeah.
And what's weird is the name of that test has the word intelligence in it, leaving you to presume that it's testing your intelligence. Whereas where no other test has the word intelligence in it. But suppose they all had the word intelligence in it. All right. Here's the art intelligence test. Okay. Are you interpreting the art properly? Or what does properly even mean? Are you creative? There's an intelligence for you. But because that's the only test that has the word intelligence in it, we all gather around it and say, how high is your IQ? Are you intelligent or are you not? And when you actually see the most productive, most innovative people in the world, they don't tend to be the highest IQ people. They tend to be people who just have a lot of grit. I don't know, is that, you guys use that word the way we do here? Grit is something happens to your ambition and knocks you down, but you climb back out and you keep going. And every
Oh.
time you get knocked down, you learn something. You learn how to not have that happen again. And the most successful people are the ones with grit, without regard to what score they got on an exam.
It's interesting because some people will always react, and they learn like, oh, you studied physics, or I'm doing a PhD in physics, and oh, you must be so smart. And it's like, the difficulty with the PhD is not necessarily the content, it's the resilience to get through the actual process.
Exactly. It's resilience. That's the word. That's another word for the grit. It's, can you, by the way, this is why many people on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, do well in this realm. Because, can you focus for 80 hours next week? What's your capacity to focus? And highly, highly sociable people have whole other ways they invest their energy and their time. And it doesn't always comport with the intensity and focus you need in the lab. So that's one of the big challenges. How do you get productive scientists to bring science to the public if in fact they don't have that training or even might not have that interest?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's something. I actually interviewed Miguel Alcubierre recently, and we were talking about a similar thing where it was like, you have great researchers, you have great educators, and you have great communicators, and they're not necessarily all the one person. So you have to find some way to connect
Exactly,
everyone through
exactly.
to be able to get it out there.
See, now I feel inadequate because I don't have a warp drive to talk to you about.
Yeah,
You're
it's fine. He
slumming
doesn't
with
have
me
one
here.
either.
You're slumming with me. If you interviewed Miguel Alcubierre, I got nothing for you. We should just end the interview
you
right
do.
now.
No, you do. And that's what we're going to go because right, all of this is a question about whether or not we're alone in the universe. One of the most famous questions related to this, of course, is the Fermi Paradox. And there's a bunch of solutions to it that you list in the book. But I want to know about what your preferred solution is. You call it the cosmic quarantine hypothesis, which has another name.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, there's books written on solving the Fermi paradox. Allow me to just spend a moment, because I count myself among the ranks of educators, and just explain the Fermi paradox, just
Yeah,
briefly, if
please
I
do.
may. So, Enrico Fermi, an Italian-born American physicist, immigrated to America during the time that's when everybody did, who was a brilliant physicist. He did a calculation. This wasn't just a thought that he had. He did a calculation, and you can ask yourself, how long does it take to get to the nearest star? Because we knew the distances to the stars, we knew these things, and well, if you're at the speed of light, it's like 4 years. All right, let's even round that up to 10 years. Let's say it takes 10 years. That's the speed. Well, we're not going to ever get the speed of light. So let's say maybe one day we go 20% the speed of light. Okay? 20% the speed of light. So if you run the math on that, it would take 50 years to get to the nearest star system. All right, now you get there, you find a planet. Now you build 2 rockets that go to 2 more planets. And each of those 2 rockets builds 2 rockets to go to 4 more planets. So then you go 1 to 2 to 4. Of course, they can build more than 2, but let's just keep the math clean. Each time you land, that civilization creates two colonistic explorations. So 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And you ask, how many of those will it take to populate every single planet in the galaxy? And you run the numbers on that. It is 2 to the what power? It's 12th or something. You need to get to like 100 billion. Okay. Do you know that off the top of your head? 2
I
to
do
what
not.
power is 100 billion? Okay. So it turns out, add up all the time that would require. Okay. And it's a fraction the age of the universe, a fraction the age of the galaxy. So what he said was, if a civilization wanted to do it, They could have done it, and they would have already done it by now, and they should have already shown up here.
Right.
So he
I
didn't
didn't
just
know that's what he said.
yeah. So he didn't just pull this out of some body orifice. He actually thought that through. Okay, at least in the version of the story I heard, which was very early on, before it was widely talked about in books.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not. If aliens are out there, where are they? There's a reason for asking, for suggesting that they should be here. Okay, so I'm not into the quarantine hypothesis. Here's what I want. My colleague came up with this, Steve Soter, who co-wrote the original Cosmos with Carl Sagan, and the first of the two Cosmoses. Is that a word, Cosmoses? That I hosted. And I assume Cosmos got to the UK, I presume?
It did, yeah. It did,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
And you didn't dub me with someone with a Brit accent?
No. Brian Cox wasn't around yet.
There you go. I don't know how offensive an American accent is to the British ear.
No, come on. Your tone is so calming. It's so
wait, no, I'll give you
lovely
a
to
calm
listen
tone.
to. So yeah.
Welcome to the universe. I'll give you a calm tone. You want a calm tone? Just ask. On demand. By the way, now would be the time to say that I narrated the audiobook for Take Me to Your Leader. Available wherever books are sold. Okay, so
amazing.
So where was I before I distracted myself? What was I talking about?
We were talking about what you actually think you're
not
necessarily
so
cosmic.
I'm in agreement with Stephen Soter, who said, think about it, any civilization that is hell-bent on colonizing other planets to the point where that is preoccupying their mission statement and their goal and their reason for living, think about it. There'll be a point where halfway through you start running out of planets.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I say, wait a minute, I want your planet. Your planet has more resources than this other one that's on my sites. I want your no, and you say, no, I'm keeping my planet. And then we fight over it. And everybody starts fighting each other for the ever more limited planets that are available, because it's in their DNA to always want to colonize. And then the entire system of exploration collapses under its own greed. And that is exactly what happened to Europeans when the British and the French and the Portuguese and the Dutch and the Spanish, they're carving up the world in the 16th and 17th and 18th, Africa, the Americas, Asia. And then there's the point where they start fighting each other. That is exactly what happened. And, you know, I'm amazed that Brits and the French are friends at all today, given the history of y'all in this. And
I'm an Irish woman. Let's be careful here. Let's be careful here.
Excuse me.
We were the first that were colonized.
Excuse me. Yeah, because you're right across the river there. Yeah. The straits.
They were like, let's test out our theories over here. What can we do?
Test it first. So
but
that,
yeah, I see
to
what
me,
you're saying.
that is it's structurally cultural or culturally structural, where it doesn't require any other assumptions other than your greed. And that way everything implodes and nothing ever happens at all.
Yeah.
That's my sense of the Fermi Paradox.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, and it makes sense if we assume that an alien civilization would have the same inclinations that we would. Which is like, I kind of guess when it comes down to it, as you said, we still have limited resources in the universe. So I think it comes up in Cixin Liu's Dark Forest book as well, doesn't it? Where it's like about, you know, any intelligent species is going to recognize there are limited resources, and if you want to survive as a species, you need to get your hands on those resources. So we can talk about that on a planetary scale, but
the universe is really, really, really big.
Really big. I know.
Really big.
But...
So when I think about it, is if we turn the solar related to that, mildly related. If we turn the solar system into our backyard, then where access to it is as routine as getting on an airplane, then the access to resources becomes essentially unlimited relative to our population. And as such, that future will no longer have wars that are triggered by limited access to resources. We might still have wars on who you pray to or who you have sex with or what side of a line in the sand you're born on or how reflective your skin is to sunlight. But this other category of war where I need oil or I need, you know, none of that would be happening in the Straits of Hormuz today if there was unlimited energy, right? You would
Yeah.
not, this whole category of human conflict would go away. So, but for people to think, oh, I need so many resources that I'm not going to tell people about mine because no, the universe is big. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not as convinced of the quarantine
Okay.
hypothesis as others
All
are.
right. Fair. I understand.
Do you realize
Um,
that in a metallic asteroid, your average run of the mill metallic asteroid will have more gold in it than all the gold that has ever been mined in the history of the Earth?
no, what?
Just as an example, just putting it out there,
Wow.
okay? Because it's pre-sifted. A metallic asteroid was a planetesimal that had already separated with heavy things falling to the center and light things floating to the top. Earth did that, okay? So it's hard to think of rocks as being light, but it's the lightest thing on Earth, so it lands at the top, right? And you go to the core, that planetesimal gets smashed to bits. Most of the asteroids that come out of that are from the crust and mantle, and a smaller number come from the core. And the core is where the heavy stuff fell. The iron, the nickel, the platinum, the gold, give me more, the iridium. And so it's already pre-sifted for you. So yeah, I'm not buying it.
My personal feeling comes down to a bit more to do with the scale. And I just kind of go like, once you start to really understand physics and you understand like the universe, then it comes down to a question of not about whether life is possible or whether life is out there. It's about whether we'd ever actually meet it. So you mention in the book that like one of the fastest objects we've sent out there is the New Horizons probe, and it's traveling at 0.005% the speed of light. And that would take 80,000 years to get to Alpha Centauri, which is our nearest neighbor.
The nearest neighbor.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not commensurate with human physiology, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, that means then that there's a few solutions to the problem of whether there is alien life or where they are. And it's about like, okay, so if you could, basically, if we say like, well, we know that it's not physically possible realistically for us to travel to another star system.
For
If
us,
aliens
right.
did come, if there were suddenly aliens in the sky above us, what's the most likely scenario of them actually getting here? And it's like we have higher dimensional beings. We don't understand the universe well enough yet, and there are ways to warp for full space-time, and our technology just can't achieve it. Or the classic, we're in a simulation, and the aliens are the ones that built it. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm in the book, I do hold the aliens to the well-tested laws of physics, but I don't hold them to any constrictions related to technology. So I'm going to give them negative matter. If they figure out a way to make negative matter, then they can pry open a wormhole, for example.
Yeah.
Regular matter collapses space-time and negative matter would open it up. So I'd give them that, or I'd give them chips that they can reach half the speed of light. I'm not going to say we haven't thought about it, therefore they can't do it. In fact, I spend a couple of pages highlighting the difference between people who started saying what was impossible versus what is actually impossible.
Let's get to the heart of the matter. What, Neil, why do you want to be abducted by aliens?
Oh, yeah, that's my first sentence of the whole book.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. It just would be so cool because I want to know what we don't know. And if an
Yeah.
alien could abduct me, it would know stuff. First, know how to abduct me. That's pretty cool, especially if it's done beam of light style, right? A beam of light comes down, and then I'm just somewhere else. And I want to learn what they know about the universe. I mean, maybe I'm being a lazy scientist. I don't want to have to work to learn this. Let they who have already made the discoveries inform me of this.
Oh, you need the ancients. You need Stargate. You need to be beamed up by the rings onto an ancient ship, and you need to be had the information and the knowledge downloaded into your brain.
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
Sure. Or just learn it. I mean, I'm a quick study here.
Yeah.
I don't need a neural implant, but
I'll take the neural implant.
One issue about the Stargate. Love me Stargate the movie, just the idea. However, you notice that they're in, no pun intended, denial of Egypt being their own civilization. It's claiming that the aliens made Egypt, which, dare I say, is a common approach when white Europeans see this amazing culture in Africa, and they cannot picture Africans being smarter than themselves. And so they presume they got help from aliens. Just think that through. Okay.
Yeah.
Just saying. Last I checked, Egypt is in Africa. Yes, Africa had a civilization before frickin' Europe. All right, let's get that out of your system. Repeat that after me, okay? And just because they're more advanced than you, just because their stuff looked really cool, and they had agriculture and cities and all of that, and you can't figure out how they did it, it doesn't mean aliens do it. It just meant they're smarter than you.
I saw this incredible video, and I just saw it like yesterday. It was this girl talking, she studied Egyptology, and she was basically just saying, like, comments of people saying that exactly, like, we don't know how they built the pyramids. And she's like, no, you don't know how.
Exactly.
Like, that's it. It's like, no, you don't know how. She's
it's
like,
you don't know.
It's like, we don't know about this. Like, no, you can't read hieroglyphs.
Yes.
I can sight read hieroglyphs. It's an incredibly well-documented civilization. It's just that you just don't understand it.
And they're up there saying, how could they have made it with such precision with it? Because they're smarter than you. That's all.
But that is a core thing that I'm going to get to it in a minute and talk a little bit about the conspiracy stuff. But it is very much like a core concept that, like, or a thing that is happening in civilization for a long time, but it's becoming maybe more prevalent now with like social media and everything like that. But not understanding something and assuming that because you don't understand it, then there isn't a solution to it. And it's like, no, you have to work for it. You have to go, you have to educate yourself. You have to find the answer. You have to talk to the people, ask questions. Don't just assume that you don't, like, that it can't be possible because you don't understand it. You can come to understand it.
Right.
Come join us.
Yeah.
But I want to, so basically, well, look, in terms of being abducted by aliens, I just want to say that if sci-fi's taught us anything, if it's not the Thermians, I'm not interested.
Oh,
so, come on.
The Thermians, wait,
records.
That's from, the Thermians are from the
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, the eighth best Star Trek movie.
Yeah, the Thermians, they show you what they actually look like. All right, they only take on human form.
I forgot. Yeah,
they only take on human form for the convention, for this Star Trek convention. But they're these blobs. They're these amorphous octopus blobs with appendages. Yeah, those are the Thermians.
So the blob, but nice.
Yeah, friendly, yes.
Friendly. So speaking of abductions, because I didn't know this, but you have it in the book. You talk about Beth and Barney Hill.
Yes.
And in 1961, they both under hypnosis recounted being abducted, and their descriptions were widely publicized, which then seems to have gone towards establishing all those common tropes that we have about like little green men and probes. What do you think like motivates these people? I'm not trying to diminish anyone's experiences, but like what I'm wondering is like, is it a desire for like a shared and extraordinary experience, or
throughout the book I do not judge people's personal experiences. All right. And one way to judge them is to say the supposed abduction or the claimed sighting. I use no such adjectives. I just talk about the sighting or the abduction or the probing. And I take it all at face value. But I comment also about the something that's been known since medieval times, or at least has a word associated with them, the incubus and the succubus. Okay? The incubus and the succubus were demons that descended upon your sleeping body and sexually aroused you. And so the succubus would arouse the male, and it was some female demon, and the incubus was a male demon to arouse the female. And you could blame your amorous secretions on these creatures in confessional the next day. And it was not your fault.
Wow.
These are demons that live in the world. And only when the alien trope, the alien, the idea of aliens became available to us, did the very same descriptions that people gave for incubuses and succubuses now happened with aliens. And by the way, these alien abductions, most of them were recounted under hypnosis. So just to be clear, and there's the famous psychologist John Mack, who interviewed people, hypnotized them, and then they talked about their abduction experiences, and there's a commonality to it. It probed their sexual organs. It probed and we would also later learn that there's a word for it, forgive me for not remembering, a state of sleep paralysis it's called, where you are partly asleep and partly awake. So you
I have sleep paralysis.
What's that?
So I have sleep paralysis.
You do?
Yeah. So when I read that in the book, I was like, oh, I can see exactly how, because it is legitimately absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, so you're there.
It's
you have some
horrendous.
awareness of an objective reality, but your mind is creating a non-objective reality, and you can't come out from under it. You can't, because your body is completely in a sleep state.
It manifests different for different people, I think, but for me, it is always a dark black figure in the corner of the room. Like just something that's all black, like a black shadow, but it looks like a humanoid figure, but they're in the room. And my brain is saying, you have to turn around and look at it, because when you turn around and look at it, it will go away. But I can't physically move my body to turn around and
because
look
you have
at it.
sleep paralysis.
The terror that you get is horrendous.
Yes.
Until you finally properly wake up, move, and there's nothing there. And you're like, oh, okay.
And then, of course, in hypnosis, your brain can fill in gaps. Like if you're particularly
that makes so much
alien
sense.
fearsome, then your brain turns that into an alien. Whereas 400 years ago, you would have turned it into some demon that an artist illustrated on some fresco, right? And and have you seen demons? And some of that artwork is like, oh my gosh, anything lurking in hell will have demon eyes and horns, and so yeah, this is and by the way, what you imagine there is often emanates from your culture, and it could be your ethnic culture, your social culture, your political culture. And so the reason why that matters, or your religious culture, the reason why that matters is I'm pretty sure Jewish people have never seen Jesus on a tortilla. Okay? Okay.
Right.
on a freshly baked tortilla. No. Christians see Jesus on a tortilla. All right. So your ability to turn something that's otherwise random into something that has meaning within your culture and your expectations is extraordinary. It's completely extraordinary. Okay. Or you were actually abducted. All right. And my point in the book is, if you're actually abducted, bring your camera next time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you said, I mean, smartphones everywhere now. Why don't we have a bunch of pictures?
Is that too much to ask?
Come on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to pull down your book for a second because I tabbed I tabbed loads of stuff, but I just want to say you open chapter 6 with this, and I really like this.
Wait, the title of that chapter was
Alien Evidence.
Yes.
So, for reasons not entirely understood, the need for a question to have an answer is often greater than the need for the answer to be verifiably true.
I think that is my best sentence of the book.
I highlighted it.
You found it. Okay.
Highlighted it.
Wait, let me hear it again just so I can bask in it. Read it again.
All right. Okay. For reasons not entirely understood, the need for a question to have an answer is often greater than the need for the answer to be verifiably true.
You could narrate
reader's
books.
Voice.
I know you can narrate
you.
books. You can do it too.
All right, I'll do the Irish version of "Take Me to Your Leader."
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Not in Irish, just to be clear. But yeah, so basically I'm just saying, like, do you think that it's that people want to believe so that because they want to believe, they're so ready and willing to believe and accept even when the evidence, as you discuss in the book, can never be like physically presented?
Yeah, I don't know, that can never be, but maybe it's not available yet.
Not currently, yeah.
So the German poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote a book called Letters to a Young Poet. And one of the letters ends, and I'm going to mangle it a little bit, but the essence will be there. It's something like, be at peace with all that stirs within your heart. Learn to love the questions themselves.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's completely lovely. It's beautiful.
That's lovely.
And so the scientist needs to love the questions themselves, because that's what gets us out of bed each morning. Whereas not everyone feels that way. And my anecdotal evidence for that, but it's real, but I have some very good anecdotal evidence. Someone came up to me and said, what was around before the Big Bang? And I said, I don't know. We got top people working on it. But there had to be something. I said, right, I don't know. We got people working. There had to be something. God had to be there. Okay. Well, there it is. In that moment, they had to have an answer. The uncertainty created such discomfort within them that they asserted God as predating the Big Bang. And only that would give them comfort in that moment. So this is the philosophers called God of the gaps argument, which is pretty easy to see how and why you can land there. You know, just imagine you're on the shores of ancient Greece and there's a storm kicking up in the Mediterranean. And how do you account for that? Poseidon is angry. Did you not sacrifice to Poseidon this week? Or, you know, you can say, well, one day we'll fully understand this and you won't need to pray to anybody. But we don't understand it yet. So gods are invoked. This is such a time-honored tradition. Like I said, philosophers have called it God of the gaps. In modern times, I see people ascribing things they don't understand to aliens. So I tried Alien of the Gaps, but that doesn't have the same alliteration as God of the Gaps. So instead, I came up with Aliens of Our Ignorance.
Yeah.
And that's, so to get an assonance there with the vowels. And so, yeah, we live in a time of aliens of our ignorance.
One of the best things I think about like science is exploration. It's like, you know, being comfortable with the question and accepting that we might not always have an answer, but we still, you know, we'll search for it, but we don't need to always find the exact solution. It just opens up new questions and everything. And
we shouldn't fear the new questions it opens.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like one of the things though that we can get from science is that like whether we believe or we don't believe if aliens have already set foot or hoof or claw or whatever it is on our planet, the first thing that would need to happen if they did is of course contact. That initially might seem impossible, but as you point out in the book, any potential alien still lives in the same universe as us. They have the same elements, they have technically the same laws of physics, we assume.
Well, no,
so
by the way, that's a strong assumption because,
okay.
for example,
dialing it back.
Yeah. So the periodic table of elements, that's all the elements.
Yeah.
And then some. We've added another 20 elements, 30 elements beyond the ones that occur in nature.
Right.
So we've gone beyond the periodic table of elements, A. B, we see those elements across the galaxy and through the depths of the universe because they make spectra. And what goes on in the atom is described by quantum physics. So if I see the same spectrum for carbon in a galaxy far, far away that I see here, that tells me that the quantum physics rules are the same, that the elements are the same, and then I see stars orbiting, that the gravity is the same. So since I see that manifesting across the universe, I'm not given reason to think that in some pocket of the universe, different laws of physics unfold. And so I feel very confident establishing that. And by the way, they could have a new alloy, sure, but it's still going to be made out of the same stuff.
That's kind of the central point then, though, isn't it? It's like we can imagine what types of intelligent life might be out there to a certain degree and how we could develop a method of communication with them because we have all of this commonality in the universe and in how the universe works and how we can understand it. It's kind of, it comes back to Project Hail Mary and how Rocky and Grace are able to find a way to communicate within that scenario.
Yes. And science and math being literally universal languages, right? That's just the proper use of the word universal. Like the Miss Universe contest, like I said,
improper.
No, I'll give you Miss Earth on that, but I'm not giving you Miss Universe. Right.
But yeah. So how would you establish first contact? What would your choice for initiating first contact be if the aliens come down to abduct you?
Yeah, so if it's one-on-one and rather than through radio signals, I would just try some rudimentary math. My favorite is the Pythagorean theorem because you can communicate that without symbols. You can just use a triangle and 3 squares. And each leg of the triangle has a square coming off of it. And so, well, why would you do that? Well, remember the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. If you don't remember that as a grown-up, go back to your middle school math notebook. And so if initially when you learn it, you're just taking this number and squaring it. But generally, you're not thinking to yourself, A squared is the area of a square where one side is A. So take your triangle, draw a square on each leg. That shows that you know that A squared plus B squared equals C squared without even using the symbols. You don't even need a symbol translator because the picture of a square and a triangle communicates it. And that would give us some hope that they would think we're intelligent and not want to enslave us all or slaughter us, that we might be worth saving.
Yeah.
Or at least turn us into their pet.
Yeah, exactly.
We treat our pets way, at least in the United States. You know, we spend $150 billion in the care of our pets. And and the U.S. government spends only 7% of that in the care of our homeless population. So our priorities are clear in this.
I'm a firm believer that the best depiction of any alien human interaction ever made on film is District 9.
Oh.
I think if you want to say what would happen if aliens came, friendly aliens, District 9.
Remind me, because a couple of those movies are confused in my head.
District 9 is...
Was the one with the aliens, they're humanoid, and they're slightly smarter than us? Is that the one?
They're human, they're insectoid, with the sort of a human, but it's set in South Africa. And they're put into refugee camps.
Right. Even though
they come and they're starving. They come because they're starving and they're on their spaceship. And when they land, they just get put into refugee camps and slums in South Africa.
I'm going to rewatch that.
And it's done as a documentary style interaction thing. And there's a nice little bit of comeuppance at the end, and I think they might be making a follow up to it eventually, but it's been out for a while now. But yeah, I think
And I
that
assume it's not an accident that it took place in South Africa.
I don't think it was. No,
Right.
I think it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
So
It didn't happen in Hawaii, right? Okay.
it did not. No.
Mm-hmm.
But we are okay. So I know you need to log off soon. So I'm going to end this with one final question that I have for you.
Have we been going for an hour? Oh my gosh.
We have, yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for your interest in the book and what I have to say about the world.
Science communication is really important to me, and I think that there's so many different mediums and there's different ways that we can do it, and we need more, we always need more people talking about things and bringing things to people's eyes in a way that we can engage with it. Like, that's why I talk about science through science fiction, because I just try to go, well, what are people interested in, and how can I then trick them into learning a little bit more?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Trojan horse. So like in my
exactly.
podcast, I have a StarTalk podcast, it's called, where we have
Neil.
Sorry.
Come on.
It's a braid, or is it a tapestry? How might I describe it? Where we have pop culture, humor, and science, and the three of those are braided together. So I think you'll laugh. It'll be related to something you already know something about. Your pop culture scaffold that you bring to the table. Then we slip science in. Maybe even when you're not looking. And then when you walk away, say, wow, I understand that a little more deeply now.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm a big reader. I read a lot. So I love a new book. That
meant you actually read my book
as well. I did read the book.
The host,
of course I read the book.
No obligation. Hosts, don't always read the stuff.
I'll flick through and I'll show you all my notes if you want. I highlighted, I annotated this. But I have to ask you one final question to end it all, because the book, if aliens did land and if they said, take me to your leader, who are you taking them to?
To the National Academy of Sciences.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I will say, the people who have led civilization from the caves to what it is now, everything you see around you, those are scientists and engineers. And let's talk to them.
Yeah.
Because they'll say, oh, what is that thing? That's a car. We invented that, however primitive it is. I'll take you to the people who have something to say about that. Oh, what's that thing in your pocket? Oh, it's a smartphone. We got people who have something to say about that. And yet politicians would be completely useless in this. Although
I think that we get the depiction, it was Mars attacks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mars attacks, I think they just didn't negotiate. They were just evil all the way through.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite depictions, the alien running through. It's like don't be afraid, we are your friends, and the alien's going
Right.
Sorry, it's great.
Yeah, and the President Barack Obama, in an interview with Stephen Colbert, said that he thinks he would make a good first alien encounter person, right? And no, he's scientifically literate. I know this.
Yeah.
And he would make a great diplomat. So you might need someone like that if the aliens are somehow angry, or there's some social cultural dimension that needs to be addressed. Then you want someone who has experience negotiating peace. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So angry aliens, diplomacy.
Diplomacy.
Curious aliens, scientists.
So you might need just at least a diplomat in the back room, in case you got to reach for one, but not up front, because there's nothing they have to say up front. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. I think we're gonna end it there then.
Well, good luck on your PhD.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Oh, thank you. I will write it. It will.
Audiences, and I'm delighted to have more on this landscape. And may there be many, many more of you, so that one day I could just sneak out the back door and go to the Bahamas, and no one will miss me. Okay.
Well deserved, I would say.
Yeah, I most certainly.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a lovely day, and I hope many, many more people are talking about your book, and you're having nice
And
conversations
it was
about
released
it.
in the UK the same day it was released here in the States across the pond.
Yeah,
So you guys have it right at the
May
same
12th.
time.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
out now.
Yes, excellent. Again, thanks for your interest.
Don't run. We are your friends.
All right, what do we think? What do you think yourself about alien life in the universe? What is your favorite solution to the Fermi Paradox? And what do you actually think would happen if we came in contact with aliens? What do you think about Neil's thoughts? And have you read the book? If you've read the book, let me know. If not, get a copy and then drop back into the comments and let's have a chat about aliens in the universe. I'll be back with a new episode soon. Stay nerdy.